What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. In today's video, we're going to talk about Zomedica, our favorite pet healthcare company. They have their earnings coming out this Thursday after hours on August 10th. August 10th? Yeah, August 10th. And we'll talk about sort of what we can expect and how the stock's been performing. But before we get into that, make sure if this is your first time to the channel, hit subscribe, like the video, share the video, and let's get into it. So as you recall, Zomedica is a business that's not just sort of one business. They have their sort of pet diagnostics, really like the truforma device. They have PulseVet, really for, I never remember the way they say horses, but like the equines, I believe it's called. They have Vet Guardian, TruView, sort of the slide preparation. They have Revo and CC Animal Health. As a quick sort of background, I sort of give this every single time about Zomedica. This stock really started off with truforma, this diagnostic tool, kind of the size of a shoebox, like 7 pounds. And they raised a lot of capital through truforma, which they parlayed into a lot of liquidity on their balance sheet by selling a ton of shares during the bull market. And that has given them the capital to acquire tons of other businesses, the most notable of which is PulseVet, that has really kept the company afloat. I think in the absence of the PulseVet acquisition, I think this company would have been done for a long time ago. So kudos to them for making the right call. Now this week, and I say this week, in the last day, so today the market opened, it was up 1.4%. Over the last 5 days, Zomedica is up 2%. Over the last month, it's up about 4%. The last 6 months, it's down 19%, but this is a little misleading because year to date is like 8 months and we're up 36% because it went from 16 cents in December, like end of December, all the way up to 30 or 29 cents in the first few weeks. So it's sort of, it's the perspective at which you look at it, right? For those of you who are watching on the live stream, or if you're watching after, post in the comments below. Tell me what you think are going to happen with earnings. Let me know how many shares you own. What is your outlook for the company? I'd love to hear about it. Now, if you take a look at Zomedica's latest press releases, which you can find at investors.zomedica.com, they posted that Zomedica is about to host their second quarter financial results call on August 10th. And what they're saying here is that that call will happen at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, August 10th. And we'll sort of hear about sort of their operational and financial highlights for the period ending June 30th. And they're going to have a Q&A period completely as well. Post in the comments below if you want me to do a live stream covering this. And if I have the time to sort of, if I'm done work early enough, I can potentially do this. But I'll do it only if sort of you guys think there's a need. Now, if we take a look, remember, the number one thing you have to do with earnings, right, is there's a lot of expectation around earnings, right? So if the stock ends up running up prior to earnings, then people are expecting there to be a sort of huge event or some sort of big sort of headline. Now, the thing I would say is we haven't really gotten that run up. If we take a look at the last, couple while since the last earnings. So the last earnings was on May 11th. And since then, the stock has gone from 20 cents to about 21 cents. So up 1 cent overall. We didn't really see the run up that we typically do for the stock from each earnings call. So typically for prior to the earnings, we see a big run up. That being said, we still have 3 days. I doubt we're going to see a huge run up in the interim. Maybe we see a tiny bit. A lot of that is sort of market dynamic and market control because, as you know, Credit Suisse had a sort of downgrade on Zomedica's price, and that, or not Zomedica's price, what am I saying? They had a downgrade on the credit for the US, and that makes it harder for the US to get more money, right? I'm sure you've seen the debt clock. So if we take a look at these earnings, I mentioned this in the last video, but every earnings has actually been negative in the sense that the stock is sold off following earnings. Every single time you see it here, it's going to kind of crashed and burned down here, kind of came down here, kind of came down here. It came down here and it came down with the most recent one. And you're probably wondering, wait a second, I thought Zomedica had fantastic earnings last time, right? Now, it's all relative because last time they did record first quarter 2023 financial results with revenue up 45%, up to $5.5 million. And all this is fantastic and this is great marketing. But in terms of what the expectation was, if you take a look at sort of what Wall Street had assumed for them, they estimated a break-even quarter, which Zomedica has not done yet, right? A break-even quarter means no net loss, no net profit. They reported a negative 0.007 on the actual earnings overall. So despite all sort of the fanciness over here, if we take a look, where are we over here? Down to, I saw this earlier. It was somewhere here when we look at net loss and we talk about EPS. Here we go. Net loss for 3 months ended March 31st, 2023, with 0.007 per share compared to a net loss of 0.004 per share the previous year. Remember, a lot of that has to do with expanded commercial activities, but Wall Street doesn't care because Wall Street is like, hey, look, we want you to have a break-even quarter, show us that, and we will be happy. And that didn't happen, and Zomedica went from not really that big of a dump. It went from the high end 22 cents, to about 20 cents, right? So about a 10% drop. Now, my assumption over here is that I think Zomedica was going to run up. It's gone slightly up since I said this, right? You see the arrow from my last video. I was hoping that maybe we would get to the 23-cent mark prior to earnings. And if the earnings sort of was not good, we would sort of dump back and potentially, I should extend this line. So I would expect this line to come back here, around 19 to 20 cents, somewhere here in the middle point, right? So if you have shares of Zomedica, and by the way, before I even say anything, this is not financial advice. Remember, I am not your financial advisor. You got to do your own research, watch a bunch of people talking about Zomedica, read up on Zomedica. I have some good videos covering a lot about the company and sort of how they can have a path to profitability. You should be doing your own research and not listening to somebody on YouTube, right? I'm giving my sort of thoughts and how I'm going to play it. So as you know, I have upwards of 10,000 shares of Zomedica. I think I have 6,000 swing shares right now, or 5,000 swing shares. I don't remember, but basically I will be selling my swing shares if we are able to broach 23 cents. If we don't broach 23 cents, I'm standing pat because there's no point me sort of selling my swing shares for such a minuscule profit, right? Just not worth it. Even still, it's not even that much, but I suspect that we're going to see a ton of volatility. We haven't really seen anything outstanding on the part of Zomedica. Of course, let's say that you have a ton of shares and you bought some shares down here at the 19-cent mark. Well, if we see Zomedica rally into the close on Thursday, let's say Zomedica hits 23, 24 cents, my recommendation is always consider taking profit, especially for those of you who have big bags of Zomedica stock. Someone posted in the channel last week saying that ever since they sort of adopted that approach of not just sort of accumulating shares and holding them tight forever, they started making a ton more money on Zomedica, and they're continually doing it. Why? Because they're starting to see they're making money. And when Zomedica finally does take off and sort of skyrockets or whatever, we do expect when the bull run starts again, or when the company has shown proof of concept, I think that is when we will see a lot of profits. But in the short term, you can still make money, and you can make money without losing money. I hear a lot of detractors. Here's the common detractor would say, I'm not selling Zomedica for anything less than $2. If you don't want to give me $2, I don't want it. Well, then when it goes to 19 cents, those same people, 15 cents. Hey, are you buying? No, I have way too much Zomedica. Well, you can't have it both ways. Which one is it? If Zomedica would dip, and you ask yourself the following question, Zomedica goes to 15 cents, how many shares are you buying? If your answer is 0, then you have way too many shares right now. And my recommendation, and sort of what I do, is I sell some of those shares, because then if the stock comes down, I can refill my bags, just the ones I sold. that sort of allows you to make money while you're waiting. Don't be foolish. Don't listen to these stupid people who will just have you sitting there and just buy and hold, but then they won't take profits and they won't add when you have these incredible dip opportunities. Do not have this mistaken. I really believe in Zomedica. It's one of a few, I think, 3 speculative stocks I hold: Nano Dimensions, Zomedica, and Marathon Digital Holdings. These are stocks that I think will do really well long term, but that doesn't mean that I want to avoid making money in the short term. You've really got to focus on yourself, focus on your bag. Don't compare your position to anybody else. I don't care if somebody owns 1 million shares of Zomedica. That doesn't mean you have to listen to them. Don't even listen to me. Figure out sort of what's going on and make your own decision. Because at the end of the day, when you're out there in Louis Vuitton, Gucci, or you're treating your wife or your girlfriend or your husband or your boyfriend out to dinner or something because you've made money in the stock market, you want to make sure that happen because of you, not because you listen to somebody else who went on YouTube. Remember, literally any idiot can buy a camera, any idiot can start a YouTube channel and start talking gibberish. You want to make sure that whatever you do, you wholeheartedly believe in it. And I'm just giving you one other approach. I find people rarely talk about this strategy on YouTube because it doesn't get views. You don't get views talking about sort of realistic expectations. You get views by telling people, hey, buy this stock, you got 100x. Those people are sitting there with millions of subscribers. And guess what? They get tons of views, tons of subscribers, and you lose all your money because you listen to them. Remember, don't focus on sort of who it is who's saying it. Focus on what they're saying and ask yourself, does this make sense? Does this sort of align with my goals? If this doesn't, come up with sort of your own plan. And my recommendation is always make your plan before the event happens. What I don't want to see happen is Thursday comes around and you go, hey, Zomedica's gone up like 10%. Well, I'm going to hold now because, it's going to keep going up. I've seen a lot of people fall for that in the past when Zomedica went from like 20 to 35 cents. And they're like, oh, it's going to keep running. And then we're back here at 20 cents like a few months later or a few weeks later. It's a story as old as time. If you don't believe me, watch my previous videos, look at the comments of people saying, look at what I've been saying this entire time, and ask yourself this. If you followed my approach, how would you have done over the last year and a half on Zomedica? Whereas you listen to these other people in the comments who are just hyper bullish, right? Hyper bullish. I'm bullish, but I'm not stupidly bullish where I will just ignore everything else, right? I've been able to make money over the last few years or year and a half in Zomedica just because I've been taking profit. And if you want that for yourself, remember, do your own research. Hey, there's tons of documentation on YouTube. You can see what people say and how things have panned out. I'd like to think I have some incredible results there. Anyways, don't forget, follow me on Instagram, on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, follow me on Twitter at TheBrownGentYT. I got a free public Discord. If you want to talk about Zomedica, you have some questions, you want to hear what other people are doing, check that out as well. And besides that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Maybe we'll do an earnings call on Thursday. Post in the comments and let me know if you'd like that. Thanks.